Chapter 3. Victor had been awakened 10 minutes ago by what he thought was an explosion, and now sat just outside the Hexel's crater as it swam around. It was like watching a dog at play, and it had caused him to doze off. He had been watching it for months, having grown fond of the giant plant creature. "I'll get my axe back yet, you silly beast. You can't keep it in your belly forever." He smiled as he remembered the quest he and Astrid had taken, extracting a poison and its antidote from the Hexel's body. It had been the only way to get rid of Dargo while he possessed Josh. They succeeded, though they'd lost Josh in the process. "Hey there, sugar squash," a female voice said behind Victor. He spun around and saw a figure across the road, hidden within a shadowy forest. "Who goes there?" The figure stepped into the dirt road. "Don't tell me you don't recognize this old face." "My gods," he whispered harshly. "Champagne Dubois?" The old woman wore the clothes in which she'd been buried, a dark green dress with a silver necklace. The snow didn't touch her as it fell, though. "But you're not real," Victor said. "You're dead, dear." "Don't I know it? Something brought me back, though. Something's wrong with the island, and the dead are walking about." "The dead walk?" Victor could barely get the words out. He imagined the dead walking around this very night and shivered. "Are you really here, dear lady?" She walked up to him and reached for his face. "I am, sugar bunny." He smiled and tried to lay his face on her palm, but it just went through it. "I was always fond of your cute nicknames." She pulled her hand away. "You must help the island." "The island?" "The island's soul. She's dying. If she dies, the island will be destroyed." "What do you mean?" Champagne shook her head. "Whatever magic brought me here also helps me understand what the island feels. She's in so much pain." Victor thought Champagne's words over. "How do we help her?" "I don't know." Victor shook his head. "I'll speak with Anila. She should know this." "Good luck, sugar dwarf. I love and miss you." She backed away toward the woods. "Where are you going? I thought you said you were back." Champagne gave him a sad smile. "I'm back, but I'm not alive. I have no heartbeat. I am a walking spirit. I can't touch anything. I found you in order to warn you of the danger." "Why didn't you warn Anila?" "I tried, but I was drawn to you instead. I think it has to do with my connection to you. Now you must go to Anila for me." He nodded. "It will be done, cherished lady." She smiled and disappeared into the woods once again. Victor stared at those woods, convinced she had really been there. He turned back to the crater and saw the Hexel staring at him. The floral creature sneezed, and something shiny shot out of its petal mouth. The object landed right in front of Victor. He picked the long-lost axe out of the ground. "Thank you, silly beast." Anila and Reese ran out into the courtyard, where most of the soldiers met them. Everyone was in a panic, but Anila commanded their attention. "Something has fallen from the sky and struck the island. Everything is all right." "But what was it?" a soldier asked, more panicked than the rest. "I don't know. I've never seen or heard of anything like it before." "It was a meteor," a female voice said. Anila saw a short woman approach from the palace gate. "Shay, you know what it was?" "Yes, it was a piece of rock that fell from space. They're not uncommon in the rest of the world, but this appears to be the island's first encounter with one." Is it dangerous? Reese asked. Only if it crashed on or near any islanders. We should search for it, Anila said. Anila, having dressed before leaving her room, gathered her Bethel, which was like a horse but had red scaly skin and no tail. 6 soldiers followed her and Reese, while Shay agreed to watch Maximus. The smoke trail still lingered in the sky, so the group didn't have trouble locating the crash site. It appears to have shot through the Giant's realm, Reese said as they approached a cluster of mountains. I guess it's a good thing Rockney killed all the giants, Anila said sadly. Otherwise, there's no telling how many would have died tonight. They followed a dirt trail into a ring of mountains until they reached a clearing. A frozen pond rested in the exact center, surrounded by cherry blossom trees. Anila and the others got off their Bethels and approached the pond. It had a large hole bored through. It must have shot through like a bullet, Anila said, looking through from the safety of the grass. She couldn't see much, but the meteor had gone through at an angle. How do we get down there? Reese asked his wife. I don't think Rockney ever disabled the lift system that allowed the giants to get in and out of their kingdom. He had no reason to, since all the giants died that night. She paused, remembering why they died. Rockney had manipulated her father, who was then king, into thinking the giants had sided with his evil nature demon brother Nauki. The giants had been under Rockney's spell, causing them to attack the islanders. They'd been innocent. Anila stepped onto the frozen pond, next to the hole. Nothing happened. Perhaps Rockney's magic has completely left this island, Reese said. Everything he created no longer works. Anila suddenly began lowering into the ice. It was a claustrophobic feeling, because the ice literally molded around her as she passed, and for a moment she couldn't move her arms. She smiled at her husband. Or perhaps you're mistaken. She completely disappeared as the lift, which was literally a chunk of ice that seemed to levitate, took her into the giant's world a mile down. Everything was covered in ice. Anila faced toward the village, filled with white, round houses. A large bridge was set over a dark blue river that flowed around the village. She looked up to see the icy ceiling high above. She waited until she reached the bottom to look behind her, where she saw a large ice wall a mile away. The meteor had crashed in the field between the village and the wall. Anila waited for the rest of the group to join her. When they did, Reese looked unhappy. It goes even farther? He asked, looking at the impact hole. I suppose so, Anila said. At least we don't have to worry about anyone being hurt by... The ground shook and she braced herself against Reese. Ice rained down from the ceiling. The only place to take cover was in the village. They ran over the large bridge and into the closest hut. The ground quaked for at least a minute, and the group listened to the thuds of large blocks of ice rain down around them. After the quake ended, they left the hut. The ice lift began to lower, and on it sat a 20-foot-tall sentient weed. Victor the dwarf stood next to it. Anila, he shouted as the lift reached the ground. I have something to tell you. What is it? The island is in danger. Something has happened. Danger? She grabbed his round shoulders. What are you talking about? I saw... Well, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I was told something has injured the island. I saw you heading this way, so I'm guessing you saw something. Yes, a meteor struck the island. A meteor? That must be what she was talking about. Anila shook her head. I don't know what you're talking about. Who told you the island was in pain? Victor stood silently for a moment before saying, Champagne. I swear I saw her, but I don't know how it's possible.
Champagne? Victor, are you feeling all right?
He smiled, his eyes shining through his bushy red beard. I'm fine, Anila. Thank you for asking. I know Champagne is dead, but I know what I saw. The beast saw her too. He indicated the Hexal next to him. The Hexal didn't speak, of course.
Well,
Anila said,
the meteor crashed through here. Let's follow it and see where it takes us. Then we'll talk more about what you saw.